Public Library. Hello, everybody from Union Public Library. If you live, work, or go to school in Union, come get a library card. You don't even, once you get your card, you don't even have to come into the library to access our many, many fabulous resources. If you have any questions, just put them in chat. Professor Lisa Sisler is now Dr. Professor Lisa Sisler, and she is from Kean University. Take it away, Lisa.
Great. Hello, everyone. So what I like to do for my writing workshops for people that haven't worked with me before is I like to give you a series of prompts and then maybe, anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes to write. And then we kind of come back and we share, and sharing is optional. If you just want to write and listen to other people, that's fine. If nobody wants to share, then we'll just do another prompt. And so we'll start this first prompt, get everybody writing, and then I'll talk a little bit. My specialty is memoir and creative nonfiction. So I'll kind of give a little bit of an overview of how I see, the best memoir writers writing. And then we'll sort of go back to the prompt style. So for the first prompt, what I want you to do is I want you to tell me the story of a location. So this could be a big location, if you've traveled, overseas, you could talk about that, or you could talk about something as minuscule as maybe your favorite closet that you had when you were a kid, maybe you used to play in your closet. So it can be either macro or micro. So just tell me the story of a location. Debbie, you're muted.
Okay, I'm going to pause the recording.
Okay.
And we'll all get to work.
Okay, so as I said before, my specialty is memoir. And memoir is a really interesting, I find it very interesting because it covers so many different types of topics. So, and creative nonfiction. So you could be writing about your own personal experiences. You could be writing about a family member's experiences. You could be writing about something that is, a little more what we consider hard nonfiction, about a topic that interests you, that's true. The one thing about memoir that we always say is that it's a true story told well. So the thing is that what you're doing with memoir especially is you're using fiction techniques to tell a true story, right? So you want to think like a fiction writer if you're writing memoir, right? And so what are some of the things that we ask? Well, you want to have dialogue, you want to have setting. So using a prompt like we just did, you could use that as sort of a setting to a story, or delve deeper into some of those childhood memories that your pieces have brought up. And so the only requirement for memoir really is that you're honest. And we always have this conversation about, is it always sort of the capital T truth? And a lot of times what happens with memoirists is they tell the emotional truth of a story. So they're trying to be as honest as possible, but they're trying to really get at the emotional truth of a subject. And of course, that comes with building trust with the audience, building emotions in the reader. And you're really writing for a reader. So when you write your prompts, or when after you leave this workshop, hopefully everyone will be writing. What you really want to do is you want to think of who's your ideal reader? Who do you want to write for? And so memoir comes in two different categories, I guess you might call it. So one category is a very specific period of time. So last summer we did Joan Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking, which is a great memoir if you haven't read it. But she is actually just talking, it's a whole book dedicated to 1 year of her life. And it's just after her husband dies. So it's her year of sort of mourning. Or you can have a different go, and you can do it thematically. So you might talk about several periods of your life, but one theme of that. A new memoir that's out called All Boys Aren't Blue is a good example of that, because what happens is the author is talking about how he's developing, and he talks about gender identity and sexuality and those types of subjects, but he talks about them, how they've affected his life so far. So the scope is a little bit longer. So when you're thinking of what you're writing your memoir, you want to think of the arc, right? The time period that you want to cover. Don't cover too much. You want to make sure that what you're covering is enough, And that, again, you're giving those really rich details so that the reader can sort of build on what you're saying. You want to give the reader a sensory experience, right? So really using those 5 senses, really sort of digging deep. So when you're talking about your childhood, you know, home, you really want to talk about the sights, the smells, the sounds, the tastes, all of those different types of things. A lot of times too, we think we have to start at the beginning of our lives, right? So I was born in, you know, for myself, I was born in Morristown, New Jersey. I can start anywhere on my timeline. I can start yesterday if I want, and just write about yesterday and today if that has enough to sort of intrigue me. So play around with when you start your memoir, right? I think that's what I got. So one of the reasons that how I choose the prompts is I usually choose them to sort of correspond with a technique that the memoir uses or writing uses. So if you can write fiction, you can write nonfiction for these workshops, whatever you're most comfortable with, right? But since a lot of memoirs deal with childhood, I'm going to give you this next prompt. So what I want you to write about is, or fill in the blank, when I was a child, I always wanted. I'll put it in the chat. When I was